What is yoga?
Now, trust me, the word yoga is more popular than the word yoga. You call it yoga or yoga. Let's use a common word yoga.
Yoga.
Is basically meaning addition. अपने अंदर चीज़ों को ऐड कर रहे हैं, इम्प्रोवाइज कर रहे हैं. हम किसी को अलग या सब्ट्रैक्ट नहीं कर रहे. चित्त वृत्ति निरोधम इति योगम. Cessation of the ripples of mind is called yoga. But pranayam is basically means pranayam, which is movement of life energy. Mahasamadhi is a very famous word. It means the power to leave the body and not coming back. So much so that you lose your existence and you become the object. But those kind of sages and those kind of practitioners, they don't come out in public arena. Lack of light is what darkness is. When we are not seeing or connecting to that depth, then we feel there's no absence of God as yet. We feel there is absence of God, and that is what is called as demon or devil. Demon itself, it means D is the one. It means negative emotion. Traditional definition of Ashtanga Yoga, it says very clearly that non-veg is not allowed in yoga.
Welcome to Pragya. Today we bring you the most important aspect of who we are. Through yoga and meditation, we find peace, we find joy, we find ourselves. And something we still don't know what is the right thing to do. How do we really prepare for it? We have a guest today. His name is Yash Shekhar, who holds a record for meditation and yoga, for Padmasan, for India Book of Records, and Asia Book of Records. So, in the next 3 episodes, you're going to really learn about meditation, just not for yourself, but also for your family, to learn how to be more peaceful and to be more joyous. Over the years, in this journey of mine, 12 years of meditation, 12 years of learning, going to different schools, trying to grasp what is the right way of meditating or meditation. What is the environment? How should it be? There's so much confusion on YouTube. Nobody really wants to tell us what is the actual way of meditation. My teachers used to say, Soumya, you're just going spiritual shopping, because to meditate, you don't need to go anywhere. All you have to do is to sit and sit in silence and observe yourself and your breath. So today, Yash is going to explain us how it's actually done and what are the processes and procedures and steps that we take to go within and to be more joyous. Yash,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you for inviting me again. Thanks to Pragya. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for being here, Yash. I have found my true calling in terms of meditation and really, really learning from the skills that you have taught me. And when I say the skills that you have taught me, I would also say the basic steps that I never learned. And now I feel the progress happening with the first basic step you have taught me. On YouTube, I see a lot of content that is there. But even the importance of posture is not taught. So, let alone meditation. I feel that what I've learned with you is the posture is one of the first steps that we have to do with meditation. May I ask you to please explain what and how are the first steps, and then what is it that it follows, and so on and so forth?
So, first thing is that when we use the word meditation, uh, it's a part of the journey.
Okay.
So, the ancient word was yoga. Y-O-G is the right word. And Patanjali's work is considered among the standards which were set that time. It was in 8 steps or 8 limbs. Hence, we call it Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga is a Sanskrit word. Asht means 8, Ang means parts. So, the basic Ashtanga Yoga is the structure for understanding how the journey for meditation goes for anyone.
So, is it yoga first or is it meditation first?
Actually, the word is yoga.
Yoga.
And both yoga and meditation actually are parts of it.
Okay.
So, generally, when we say yoga, the asana part has become more famous. So, yoga has certain steps, and by the time I have told you all the steps, you will see that how both yoga and meditation fit into that.
But like the world is doing yoga fest, now we have yoga postures, we have so many different kinds of yoga, so many certifications for yoga.
True.
But isn't it all in the mind?
It's definitely in the mind, but understand the power of communication.
Okay.
Like, for example, if I use the word elephant and I mean a real elephant, and I use the word hathi and I
Hmm.
imagine a tiger, so it's like if you use the word elephant and I use the word elephant, we must be talking about the same animal.
Right.
Otherwise, the communication can go in a very different direction. So, the ancient structure of yoga was including 8 parts, and each part became famous in a certain way,
Okay.
and that became itself a big part of it. So that's how the whole thing has gone. So if I tell you the parts, the name of the parts of the yoga, then you'll see that, oh, what is what.
Okay. So why
So
don't we start with what is yoga?
so first, the ancient definition is chit vritti nirodham iti yogam,
Okay.
which I translate in English and would become cessation of the ripples of mind is called yoga. So this is the prime aim of yoga. So when I say yoga, obviously includes meditation. Meditation is one of the advanced part of yoga. But again, the point is cessation of the ripples of the mind. So in a way, the mind is becoming still. That's why if I give a picturistic example, it's like a lake. Imagine a lake which is totally peaceful, and you can see the reflection of the moon falling on the lake surface.
Right.
So that's a good way to express the state of yoga. But
Okay.
a person who is doing yoga, we used to call them yogis.
But isn't yoga asana? Because, like, if I was to tell children today
Yeah,
that you must do meditation and you must do yoga,
yeah,
what are you going to tell them?
yeah. So yoga, the word asan, it's actually a part of yoga. The third ang or the third step of yoga is called asan. So
Okay.
the 8 steps are yam. Number one is yam.
Yum, what does that mean?
Yam is basically about certain do's,
Do's and don'ts?
kind of. Then that
Do's
is
and
niyam.
don'ts. Okay.
So yam and niyam are the do's and don'ts to set the prerequisite for entering the school of yoga.
Okay. So, what is the do's and don'ts for entering the school of yoga?
So primarily it has to do with a lot of purity based practices, like you should not lie, you should not steal, you should be following celibacy, should be a lot of things which have, I told you that the standards used to be very high in ancient times. We have kept on diluting the standards over the last
So, diluting the standards mean diluting the
decades.
results also?
Obviously, we look, as we say in the management books, that every product is a result of a process.
Right.
If you dilute the process, the product will be diluted as well. So
So,
we have been diluting the process, and we most of the times we don't know the standards. It's more like if a train is standing on the train station and you don't know what's the correct time of the train to arrive there, you don't know whether the train is late or is it early.
right.
So the standards are very important. So there were standards about yam, niyam, asan.
Okay.
So these three I mentioned already.
So, niyam will not be suitable for a person who's a gharast, who is a family person or a child or a adult who is growing up and want to explore every aspect of their human body and their relationships.
I agree.
So, in today's time, what
Yeah.
would be relevant?
So you just do something which doesn't harms anyone.
Okay.
So that's why as I said, that non-violence is a very important part of yoga.
Okay.
The
And what
initially do's
about
and don'ts.
non-veg? Is it a part of non-violence or is it not?
Non-veg is not allowed in yoga. Technically speaking, uh, traditional definition of Ashtanga yoga, it says very clearly that non-veg is not a part of it.
But why?
Well, okay, scientifically speaking, when you eat non-veg food, you need more time to digest that food.
Okay.
So your duration of doing meditation and duration of doing yoga will decrease per day. Whereas if you take simple food, it's easy to digest.
It's going to increase, isn't it?
It increases the time period. So your practice time gets higher if you're eating a simpler diet. Like when I used to be trained in Himalayas, we used to eat rice water. So I'm still obsessed with that food. It's just that you take simple few mouthfuls of rice, put it in water, boil it, and then like a soup you have it all.
Okay.
I feel and I think that in some of the ashrams, they
They still serve that.
serve it.
Okay.
In South India, they call it ganji. And in
And
some
it's very
part of
popular,
it's
isn't
very
it?
popular.
Yeah.
In northeastern part, they call it mad bhat. So Odisha also, I think Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, they call it mad bhat. So different part, it has different names, but it's basically rice water. It's very high on starch and it has very high calorific value. It's very good for as an energy drink.
Okay.
But you must have the power to digest it also as well. So it's a very good food, but it's very simple. And we used to be trained not to even have salt, because salt will also create some kind of thoughts. Look, these are all the, I would say, the traditional, there are a lot of things which we used to not ask questions. We used to just imbibe it as a part of the practice. And later on, I felt as my knowledge of science also increased that, okay, why they are saying such things.
I guess, I mean, today when we look at salt, it's so chemicalized.
Yeah,
And to make it for what it is,
yeah,
and adding, salt to everything, it's
yeah,
obviously the body itself cannot digest the food
true.
properly and it's not good for the body.
Yeah,
So I guess these yogis had a vision of what the world was going to be like and how things are going to turn out to be. So when you talked about
yeah.
Ashtang Yoga came from which region of India?
No, it was, look, first of all, the founder itself is Patanjali.
Okay.
There are a
But
lot of stories about Patanjali. He was a very ancient figure. Some people say that he was half human, half serpent. Some said he was a great rishi, and we know very less about him. He also has a very big role in the documentation and grammars of the Sanskrit language also. So, okay, let's keep him till Yoga, but he was a very great figure. And he said about Ashtang Yoga, that 8 parts of yoga would be as such: Yam and Niyam, which is about do's and don'ts, Asan. Asan actually means posture. And you see, that part became very famous. And this Asan is mostly what is called as yoga these days.
yes.
So this
Yeah.
Asan and yoga, you can take is like nearly synonyms, very similar. Then comes pranayam. Pranayam is more like all the breath work, but actually it's not just breath work, it's also mind work. But pranayam is basically means pran ayam, which is movement of life energy. It's
Okay.
not shwasayam. So generally, when any of the yoga gurus are talking about all these things, they are talking about shwasayam. So every shwasayam is a pranayam, but every pranayam is not a shwasayam.
Amazing. How wonderful. I actually have no idea what swashayam is. So I'm going to ask you to
Yeah.
please elaborate it.
So it's more like if I am taking breath, inhaling and exhaling and holding and doing anything, that's a shwasayam. When I am not using the breath at all and I'm doing something mentally, that's pranayam. It can be with shwas and it can be without shwas.
Right.
So pranayam is of two types: one with shwasayam and one without shwasayam. So just two parts.
So this is, I mean, all these years of understanding and finding and looking out for answers for myself, I realize one thing: the keys, the actual stuff, has really not come out to the world.
Yes. So basically, first of all, when you talk about shwas, we don't bring spine in picture. Spine comes a bit later, but shwasayam is the preparation for that. So generally, shwasayam and all the shwasayam which is famous, all the kind of breath watching, and also all the kind of ujjayi pranayam and other pranayam, they're all mostly shwasayam. But then there is something beyond that also. But when I say pranayam, that's the fourth part of the fourth step of yoga. It primarily includes all of these. So right now I'm just giving the structure, outline structure. So fourth is pranayam. Then comes pratyahar. So from here actually the development towards meditation starts.
What's pratyahar?
Pratyahar means in English internalization of mind. Your mind getting internal to you.
So you becoming the observer?
You become the observer, you also become the observed.
Okay. So these are tricks of the mind, but also these are the keys to your actual meditation. At Pragya here, we're going to bring you the keys to finding yourself and going inward.
So basically, when you are doing pratyahara, it's a state. It's not an act. Like you can go to sleep at particular time, but you may fall asleep at a certain time. Similarly, till yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, you are doing something. It's an act-based process. The pratyahara dharna dhyan samadhi is a react-based state. It's not in your control. It's a state. It's like a result of the process. And these, the next ones coming, pratyahar, dharna, dhyan, samadhi. Pratyahar means interaction of mind. Dharna means something like a concentration, visualization kind of state. Then comes dhyan. Dhyan is a effortless and continuous state of the previous stage, which is the dharna.
So you basically become that.
Yes.
Yeah, you kind
Yeah.
of like you've prepared yourself so
Yeah.
much that
Yeah.
one day you become that.
Exactly. So when
Okay.
you are in a state of dhyan, which is the same as zen. So when the other part of the world, when the yoga was spreading, they used the word zen. Zen and dhyan is something very similar, if not the same. And the word they use for dhyan and zen is the nearly near same pronunciation as per their culture. So in this state, it's a state where there's no action. It's like you have created such high speed like a aircraft that after a point you are in the air, you're just moving, you're just gliding in the air. So that is dhyan. And then at the end comes samadhi, which is more like amalgamation, which is becoming something. So samadhi is
Becoming what?
becoming whatever is the focus point of your purpose of entering the state of meditation. So
Okay.
the every yoga has a laksh. Yoga is not something just sitting there and doing nothing and the mind wandering in 10
Because that's
directions.
what it's like
Yeah,
everywhere you see on YouTube, everything where you see, oh, we must just meditate. Hold your hands like this, sit cross leg, and watch your breath.
yeah,
This is the maximum
yeah. This is a very
we are
mechanical
told what
approach.
meditation is.
Yeah,
And of course, with understanding, I understand that there are other steps.
definitely it has
And
steps.
when you say the state of samadhi,
Yeah.
what is the state of samadhi if you were to explain the experience a human being goes through?
Okay, I'll make it simple. Because samadhi is of various. First of all, samadhi also is of various types. Um, Mahasamadhi is a very famous word. It means the power to leave the body and not coming back. In Sanatan Dharma and Hindu tradition, also in Buddhist traditions, this is a very high state of Mahasamadhi. Uh, I was doing a broadcast with Pragya itself, where Honorable Rinpoche was there, Migral Rinpoche was there. We discussed about this topic so we discussed about Tumu. Tumu is a very high level of way of Mahasamadhi practiced by the Buddhist monks of the highest order. So again, it's a samadhi. Samadhi means a amalgamation with the object. So much so that you lose your existence and you become the object. So till the state of dhyan, the
Yes.
amalgamation is not complete. It's like you are there and your desire, your love of the life, that object is there. So there's still two. But instead of samadhi, you completely finish yourself or dissolve yourself to become one with the object. So let's say if I am focusing on Lord Vishnu and I am trying to enter a state of samadhi with Vishnu, I have to cease to exist. My
So it's like
everything is up.
the river when it's going
Yeah,
and through the rocks and all the curves and turns
yeah,
it's doing. And
yeah.
then finally, when it merges with the ocean,
True,
it's lost its
true,
identity, but it is a merger of the one.
true.
So
Very
it
true.
is this body,
Yeah,
this experience
yeah,
carrying on to your desired state
true.
and then becoming one.
Yeah. First of all, there's no desire there. Once you choose the object, anything else. Look, the word desire itself means there is multiplicity.
Okay.
If I'm desiring something today, something may come tomorrow also. But when we use the word samadhi, it's like a fixed laksh. And once it comes, you have removed everything, every other desire, every other aspect of your life, just to help you enhance this laksh. And everything else will have to either get synchronized with this laksh or has to be completely left.
So Laksh would be the aim. Am
Yeah,
I right?
yeah,
So you've got an aim and you've reached all these steps. You've
yeah,
taken all these 8 steps
yeah.
to arrive
True,
to Samadhi, the
true,
Mahasamadhi.
true.
I
Just
believe
samadhi.
Samadhi.
Mahasamadhi is a type of samadhi. Samadhi
Okay.
is the one. Yeah.
So I've heard about sages that leave their body
Yeah.
and they come back into the body.
That's even a higher form of samadhi. So Mahasamadhi, okay, it sounds so great, but in the world of samadhi, is considered a very basic form of samadhi. So there are higher forms where they can go and come back. But those kind of sages and those kind of practitioners, they don't come out in public arena. They don't need to,
But they
because
still exist, don't
everything
they?
exists.
Everything exists.
Everything exists.
So at Pragya, we want to bring to you that everything exists, whether we see it or not, whether we can see it or not, maybe your choice or maybe your access, but they do exist. The sages in the world, they do exist.
Also understand that whatever we are witnessing in life is also as per the merit we have earned. Like suppose if I'm working in a company and I want to meet the head of department of my particular department, I can meet the person. But meeting the CEO may be difficult. Meeting the chairman may be even more difficult. And maybe if I meet also, the time duration will be very less. So same in this field. Even finding a person who does meditation, pranayam, is difficult these days. Most people are not doing it because the pranayam has to be for a sitting of 3 hours and plus. So first you need to have asan siddhi. So from asan and onwards, everything has to be, there has to be a word called siddhi. Siddhi means basically alignment or mastery. In English, that's the closest word. So if I say asan siddhi, which means for 3 hours I should be able to sit in that particular asan, at least 1.5 hours, if not anything more.
Isn't that the start of yoga?
That's definitely the start of yoga.
It is.
Yeah.
So if there was a child that you were going to teach or suggest or recommend that it's time for you to start yoga,
Yeah.
and what is the first asana you're going to tell them to do?
Look, I have to, first of all, it depends on the genetics. Also, your genetics, the kind of body height, shape, the strength of the bones, BMI
Right.
index, a lot of things, a lot of factors come up in picture, please. Also, the child should be interested. You
Okay.
should always remember one thing: if someone is not interested into learning something, you can make them good at it. You cannot make them great at it. So,
But Pragya, we just feel that it's not about great or good.
yeah,
At Pragya, we feel that we just want to bring to the world what is the first step,
yeah,
what are the right steps.
yeah,
At the end of the day, there is light, there is darkness. It
true,
depends on you what you want to do.
true,
But having said that, over
yeah,
the years of attending so many classes, so many seminars, still nobody emphasizes on the first course of action that we need to do to even arrive to the state of breath, to observing the breath or the pranayam, etc., etc. So if you were to say the first step,
yeah.
what would be the first step?
Sukhasan for sure.
Sukhasan. What
Yeah.
is Sukhasan?
Sukhasana is a typical simple sitting posture. It's not cross-legged actually, but it's just like you're folding your legs and sitting comfortably with the spine straight.
Okay, so the spine has to be straight,
Yeah.
and we need to be sitting on the ground
Yeah.
or on a sofa or something like that.
Whatever is comfortable for you, but the ground should be slightly hard, not too soft.
Okay.
First thing is that. Second, it is to support your spine. Your asana is the prime purpose, and the support you have got to keep a straight, erect spine, and not erect so much like you tense it. It should be a
Okay.
comfortable, straight posture.
And what about the chin?
Chin is to keep straight, parallel to the ground,
Parallel to
and
the ground.
everything has a purpose. It's not like a fashion you are doing it for out of style. You are just doing it because it serves a purpose. If you move it in certain way, you find it easier to meditate.
And what is meditation then?
Meditation is, as I said, chitvritti nirodham iti yogam. Cessation of ripples of mind is called yoga.
But what if I have a 8-year-old child?
Yeah.
And I know that if the child starts meditating at a very young age,
Yeah.
starts doing yoga at a very young age,
Yeah.
will not have to go through a lot of
Definitely.
issues with pain, with mental health, with other aspect. In fact, because
Definitely.
once you go inward, you get
Yeah.
stronger within.
Yeah.
And when you're stronger within,
Yeah.
you're bound to, it's a byproduct to be
Yeah.
joyful.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct to be more fit. It's a
Yeah.
byproduct of a positive, happy,
Yeah.
relaxed,
Yeah.
peaceful being.
Sure. Also, let's bring a bit of medical science. If I'm watching something, anything you give attention to in this world will improve and improvise. So if you're watching your breath gets longer and deeper. Once your breath gets longer and deeper, you get more oxygen for the blood and for the entire system. So once you get more oxygen and the system gets improvised, more nourished, so your brain also functions in a different way, your body also functions in a better way. So everything improves. So if anyone sits for meditation for some time, their breath work gets more smooth, more longer and deeper, and hence their health definitely starts improving. So it's a
Excellent.
good thing.
So, for when is the earliest we could start this process? Because
Look,
Jiddu Krishnamurti had got his enlightenment, I think, at about between 9 to 11 years. Where do you think he got it
look,
from?
I always say exceptions should not define rules.
Okay.
So all these great ones you are naming, Mr. Krishnamurti, Paramahansa Yogananda, Lahiri Mahashay, Ramkrishna Paramhans, Swami Vivekananda, they're all exceptions. Please understand. They are like prodigies. They must have. I'm bringing the past life because now I'm studying about Buddhism and I see that past life is a very ingrained part of their culture also. So the way they mastered everything at such a small age. Recently, a boy playing chess in India at a very young age is getting very high points.
So
So
it's from a previous
Def-
lifetime. Is
otherwise,
that what you're
otherwise
saying?
it's like there's no logical way of seeing it that how can a small child start mastering something like chess or something doing good in something like meditation at such a certain young age. But if I talk in general, children by the age of 9 years, I think if trained in a proper, polite and cooperative way, they can be introduced to the art of meditation. I'm using the word art of meditation. And then later on, after a couple of more years, like 4 5 years, they should be introduced to the concept of science of meditation. Now
Okay.
you can ask me, okay, what is the art of meditation, science of
Yes,
meditation?
that was going to be my next
So
question.
art of meditation is when you are just following the rules. You have been asked to do this, do that, do that. At that stage, you don't ask too many questions. You just do it and feel if you're improving or not. Obviously, you can give a indicator or symptom or sign that okay, you're improving or how you're feeling. When it comes to scientific science of meditation, you start understanding why. Why am I doing it? And what will happen if I don't do it?
Don't you think these kind of studies should be a part of our learning process? Because eventually, you've just spoken about karma, you've just spoken about, sorry, you've just
Yeah.
spoken about rebirth,
Reconstruction.
right?
Yeah.
Reincarnation. And it is a fact. The whole world is talking about it. And karma also plays a very important role, I
Yeah.
understand.
Karma comes back to you.
So karma comes back to you. So to between reincarnation, karma, meditation, and yoga, why are we not looking at this when these are the most important aspects? Why, when we are sad in life, upset with this is not worked out or that is not worked out, and then go towards finding ourselves through meditation, finding ourselves in yoga, finding ourselves in ways that now have already paved its way with pain. Why can't we start the journey at a much younger age where we learn the importance of karma,
Mhm.
where the importance of yoga, where the importance of meditation, and the understanding that lifetime after lifetime we are coming back.
Look, very rightly said. First of all, if you see the ancient history, before the Britishers' colonial rule, uh, there used to be a lot of gurukuls in India. And some of the, I can't go back in history and say exactly how many, but when Max Muller was studying about India, and he said that India's spiritual education system is very deep. So they structurally abolished and banned the spiritual schools. Even ancient martial arts of India and all was completely banned. So basically, all these gurukuls were completely shut down.
So basically, the spine of India was in its
Definitely, spiritual education
spiritual
system.
understanding and the Vedas, the Upanishads, and today even science is inspired so much
So much.
by all these documents and everything else. And how I understand it, Germany's got so many universities
Of Sanskrit.
of different spiritual tricks and different rules and laws of the Upanishads. It's teaching its people not just the language, but a way of life. And this way of life was inspired from India. We don't have this study in our education. Gurukul was taken completely out. That was a study of the self. It gave you discipline, it gave you yoga, it gave you meditation, it gave you the right way of life. The life within and living outside within the world, coexisting.
I'll just give you a very simple example. When you start the interview with me, you use the word yoga. Now, trust me, the word yoga is more popular than the word yog. You call it yoga or yog. Let's use a common word, yog.
Yoga.
Is basically meaning addition, right? So we include everything and everyone. That's why the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept comes, that we imbibe the whole world as one single family of ours. And there's a space for addition for everyone and everything. सो दैट्स द प्राइम फिलोसफी ऑफ योग कि हम अपने अंदर चीज़ों को ऐड कर रहे हैं, इम्प्रोवाइज कर रहे हैं, हम किसी को अलग या सब्ट्रैक्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं.
बट अगर हम अपने आप को ऐड कर रहे हैं तो उसमें से काफ़ी चीज़ें हैं जो हम ठीक नहीं कर रहे, तो हमें उसको तो बाहर निकालना पड़ेगा
हमें
ना
उसको
अपनी बॉडी
बाहर
से.
नहीं निकालना है, हमें उसको इम्प्रोवाइज करना है.
इम्प्रोवाइज करना है.
हाँ.
तो अपने अंदर जो शेर है बैठा है या
हाँ.
जो डेवल बैठा है उसको इम्प्रोवाइज करने में कैसे योग हेल्प
देखिए,
करेंगे
पहली
यार?
बात, हमारे अंदर कोई डेविल नहीं है.
हाँ जी.
Lack of light is what darkness is. Now I'm connecting a bit to Swami Vivekananda. So there's nothing as devil. There's something like absence of God, and at a very superficial level. In the human consciousness, the depth of divinity is too high. When we are not seeing or connecting to that depth, then we feel. There's no absence of God as yet. We feel there is absence of God, and that is what is called as demon or devil. The word
Right.
demon itself, it means D is the
Hmm.
one. It means negative emotion. So the
Oh,
thought itself is there's nothing like darkness. It's absence of light. If you just in a completely dark room, you just put one matchstick lighted, you see the darkness starts going away. If you put 100, so where was the darkness? So it's a perspective. It's like seeing the glass half full or half empty. That's like that. So just that yoga is about addition at a qualitative level also and quantitative also. So when we are improving on something, say someone is suffering from anger management, so when they are improvising on the anger, not that they don't get angry, their structure and their status of getting anger gets too high. They not get angry as easily as they would get as earlier.
right.
So it's a qualitative improvement as well as quantitative improvement in terms of your capacity, capability, looks, performance, youth, standards, health, and that improves a nation, it improves the society, improves the individual and family as of. So it's
Thank
like a
you.
total thing. It's a total integration. It's always about integration, and there's always scope of improvement. You just have to have an open mind and keep learning, keep improvising. And the more you improvise, the more scope of improvement you will watch. That itself shows that the spirituality we are studying now in India is also offshored. So what is
Very
becoming
good point.
popular
Yeah.
in India, like Kanchi Dham, is very famous. But now, since the some big dignitaries from out of the Western world have come and visited that place, so it's getting more famous. So in our
So
world,
Kenchi Dham basically always existed. Hanumanji
exactly,
always
all these people are
existed.
always
Neem Karoli Baba was always there.
always
But the
there.
moment the Westerner comes in,
Exactly.
the whole country and the Western world wants to go there.
See the particular the lines and all in the our particular text and all. It says Yug Sahasra Yojan Prabhanu. It says about the distance between Earth and Sun.
Right.
So that so all those things are already there. It's like just when a Westerner says something, then we feel that okay, now we have a authenticity that also shows that we don't have that kind of confidence on ourselves unless we get a certificate from a Western university about our own culture.
Amazing. How wonderful it is. You've put it very simply, but this is the truth. This is the innate truth. This is what is happening. Yes, once upon a time, the world was ruled by the Westerners, but we need to forget and move on with that. We already have all the gifts, we already have it in our culture. We need to wake up and not call yoga. So,
Yeah. Also,
just,
also, also,
yes,
also one thing that first of all we have to take the best of everything.
yeah,
I have spent a lot of time in the Western countries for many years. I find them very sincere as students. They really do very high and hard research about something. So they're giving us authenticity is a very good thing. That's very positive. I'm not negative about it. I'm very happy about it. But that also gives a higher responsibility on us to encourage our own people if they are going on this path. Not just that when they get an authenticity and accolades from West, then you start, patting their backs and giving them accolades.
well, the way at Pragya, we feel that, okay, fine, they may do it with a little bit of more authenticity and more devotion, dedication, but they have access to it. In
Definitely.
India, we've not had access
True,
to it,
true.
considering the fact that the culture is ours, something that it was originated here. And as Indians, we don't have it in school.
Yeah.
We don't have it in college. Nobody's talking about it. 500 years of generations have no idea about what is the way and what is the right way.
True.
And at Pragya, we determine to bring in the right way of doing it,
Yeah.
because it's time we start appreciating the systems that we have created, our ancestors have created, sages have created, and they are proved over time that they are
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
So, today's dialogue is about what are the steps? What is
Look.
the step after understanding that this is the 8 steps? What is then the step to do what is going to work for our generations to come?
Look, there's another aspect where we have to improve is that if suppose you're a doctor, if you're a PhD in doctorate in certain particular field, and I'm in the process, if I'm learning, then definitely I should not try to judge you. You can be still judged by your contemporaries, your peers, and your seniors and your professors. But definitely I should not judge you because you are senior to me. You will understand something which I will not understand. So that's why we say the less competent should not judge the more competent. And that happens in every field in the West. If you see the West, they have a very proper hierarchy in the matter of education and research. And when the more competent are running a system, the qualitative higher indexes get even more higher. Like say
Right.
in example, the IIMs and IITs, they are very doing very good because they have a IITG screening system which ensures that the best brains only reach. So that way is in meditation school also. That way should be in every department of everywhere in the country. Because when you choose the best for something, you create more value, and that will help that energy to go to the mediocre also.
Right. So it's like an enlightened master had mentioned and said it in his discourses about 50 years ago that spirituality will come from top to downwards
Yes.
in our system, which is from schools to a working environment to homes. There is actually no set way. Everybody's doing their own saga, they're trying to sell their own product.
Yeah.
What's your comment on that?
Look, there should be a assembling. I would say
Assembling?
like an integration of all these platforms, something like a some kind of competition or some kind of stage where all the different schools of meditation they come together, they discuss their points. They can even self improvise by studying each other's points and systems. That way, the general categories they mix up. Like in the school education system, there's ICSC, there's CBSC, and there are other boards. But when a student passes on from different boards, then finally, before entering a college, they do a relative marking system. Like, they come to a common scale. So
Right.
that has to be done in a spiritual education as well.
So, even in spirituality, we need to introduce this. And just not to India, I think it should be in the world. Because once again, everybody is doing their own set of spirituality, their own understanding of it. And this understanding needs standardization. This understanding cannot be just as the base level. As discussed earlier, the different kinds of levels of yoga itself.
Yeah.
What is your final uh, input if at a beginner level we were to talk to someone who was going to be introduced to yoga,
Yeah.
to be introduced to a way of life of self purification and peace? What would be your suggestion be?
So now I would talk to someone who is practicing, who is just a beginner. We call them neophytes. So if someone is a neophyte and they are following the process, completely be with the process. So the process will have three parts: the subject, which is the person who is doing the meditation, act of meditation; the process, which is the way they have chosen, which can be breath work, can be visualization, or can be some other ritual they have chosen; and then there's the object, which is the end product of the meditation. So when you start, you will see subject, process, object. When you continue, maybe few hours or maybe few days or maybe few months or years, as you improve, then you become the process and the object. And at the end, it's only the object.
Right.
So this is the way you
So
can
the
self
three
measure.
levels, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a
Okay.
three big. There are other higher levels also. I'll not mention that because that will create more confusion. But these three are the first three beginners level to see how you are progressing, like a self check.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yash. I really hope that you have understood that what has gone to the West was actually something that was born here. What we want to learn is the right way. So, one thing you have to do to yourself is to watch the next episode where we're going to teach you the steps how to do this process and how to start going inward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.